everybody, this is AJ Rattel, Director of New Hampshire Paranormal Investigators. Welcome to this week's edition of Got Ghost, our weekly web series here on Thursday nights. Got a great show lined up for you tonight, so we're going to hop right into it with a reminder about our upcoming Snowflake Ball. That's our charity event that will be taking place Saturday, December 14th. At the Westin Copley Hotel in Boston at 6 p.m. It's a event to benefit Toys for Tots. Rather than charging regular admission, we're going to ask that anybody who comes donate one new unwrapped toy. So instead of having to pay for a ticket, and then at the end of the night, we're going to donate the toys we've collected to Toys for Tots. So it's definitely for a great cause, and really for, an event with, food and music and dancing and all kinds of holiday fun. I mean, you can't beat having to provide a new unwrapped toy. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to break the bank to buy a toy, but just something to brighten a needy kid's Christmas a little bit this year. You can register for the Snowflake Ball either by emailing us at nhparanormal1@gmail.com, or you can drop us a line on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/nhparanormal. All the details about the Snowflake Ball are posted on our website, nhparanormal.zxq.net. Spots are filling up fast, so if you want to be at the Snowflake Ball, I would highly suggest getting yourself registered quickly. Okay, we've got a couple of appearances coming up soon. One of them is on November 30th. Our Assistant Director, Aurora, is going to be interviewed on WKXL 1450 AM here in Concord. If you're not in the listening area for KXL, you can listen on their website, kxl.com. She's going to be on at 8 AM on the 30th of November, so definitely be sure to check that out. And then our first actual appearance is on December 2nd. That's at the Concord City Auditorium here in Concord also. Tickets to that are free. We are asking for an optional donation the night of the show, but the tickets are available now through the Concord City Auditorium box office. Again, free of charge, and we'll be taking optional, and I stress optional donations on the night of the 2nd. So that's going to be great. Again, all the details about our appearances and events are posted on our website, so you can feel free to surf on over there and check it out. We've got a bunch of other great stuff on there too. Some links to our favorite paranormal pages, a list of our partners. We've got our team roster posted there, and we've got some ghost hunting 101 tips also that we put up there, so check it out. And again, that's nhparanormal.zxq.net. Okay, one other quick little note before we get into the meat and potatoes, as I like to call it. We will be taking a Thanksgiving break, Thanksgiving and the day after, so the 22nd and the 23rd of this month. We will still be open for emergency cases, of course, but this obviously means that there will be no episode of Got Ghost next week. Sorry to disappoint you all. I know you're crushed. I can hear the crying and the so yeah, no Got Ghost next week. We'll be back the week after, though, on the 29th, so no fear. And that leads us into the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, as I like to call it. Last week, our question was, have you ever had a paranormal experience? If so, give us a brief description, and if you haven't had a paranormal experience, do you believe in the paranormal? We got a overwhelming number of responses. It was really quite incredible. Most of them on our Facebook, and actually quite a few through email too. and some really good response on some of the paranormal message boards that we frequent. So like I said, an overwhelming response. Thank you all so much for taking the time to answer the question. And the majority of the responses said that people, yes, have in fact had a paranormal experience. Some really great stories. Thank you all so much for sharing with us. Some really great stories and really great experience. Some positive, some not so good. Some people have had some pretty terrifying experiences with entities that are not friendly, but they've had experiences nonetheless. And then those who told us that they haven't had experiences was split about 50-50 between whether or not they believed in the paranormal or not. And I have to say, from what I've seen and read and what have you in the last 4 or 5 years, that seems to be a shift in the direction of more people believing and less skeptics. I mean, not that there's nothing wrong with being skeptical. I've said that once, I've said it a million times. Skeptics are good for, skeptics are good for conversation and discussion and whatnot. And everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. But split right down the middle. I counted, actually. Split right down the middle between skeptics and believers. But to me, that seems like, based on what I've read and what I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like it's shifted in the direction of more people believing and fewer skeptics, which I guess is a credit to our field. To me, that says we're raising awareness. Awareness is on the rise of the paranormal, which is always a good thing, because if one of these people that hasn't had an experience, if they do, and they're a skeptic, they might say, oh, wow, well, it'll change their mind, and they'll say, oh, well, now I have had a paranormal experience. I'm certainly not, I'm not saying everybody should have a paranormal experience. I think the fact that so many people haven't is what makes it special, it makes it unique, but I wouldn't trade any of my experiences for anything, and I know I speak for my whole team when I say that, and I've had some pretty frightening experiences, including an encounter with a demonic entity when I was younger. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Even that, as terrifying as it was at the time, and as traumatic as it was, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's helped me become who I am today, and I believe helped me become a better investigator and better suited to be in the field. Oh, excuse me. So that was really quite interesting. Like I said, some really great stories. Some people have had some unbelievable experiences. Although I guess nothing in this field is unbelievable. But again, thank you all so very much for sharing with us. We really enjoyed reading your stories. And again, to those of you who haven't had an experience and are skeptical, more power to you. Because it's, well, I think when it comes to this, it's easier to be. I think it's easier to be a skeptic. I think it's easier to be a skeptic. It's easier to say, oh, there's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as spirits or entities or apparitions or whatever you want to call it. I think it's easier to do that. I think it's easier to take that stance. And, and when I say it's easier, I'm not disrespecting you. I almost envy you. Because if I hadn't experienced the things I've experienced, and if others had their experiences, we could just brush it off and say, oh, there's no such thing. I don't ever remember being skeptical about the paranormal, even from a young age. I had my first brush with the paranormal when I was fairly young. I would tend to say I was probably about four, maybe five. I was pretty young, and my grandparents had bought me a stuffed moose, and I had a whole shelf where I had filled just chock full of stuffed animals. And then eventually my dad put a net up in the corner, hung a net in the corner of my room, and all my stuffed animals got put up there. And so the moose went along with it, with the rest of them, and the moose would sit up there, and I would go to sleep at night, and I would wake up, and the moose would be moved. The moose would be put on the shelf where the stuffed animals used to be. It would be put on my dresser, it would be put on the floor, it would be put at the foot of my bed, it would be moved all over the place. And one time, actually, it was even moved out of my room and into the spare bedroom next door to mine. So, of course, at the time I had no idea what it was, but it terrified me. You know, why is my stuffed animal moving on its own? And then as I got older, I started to better understand, and then after my parents got divorced, my mom and I moved into a duplex, and the duplex was actually built on land that had once been part of my grandfather's family's farm. They had owned a farm there, and the duplex was built on what used to be farmland. In fact, the old farmhouse was still there, and quite creepy looking from the outside now that I think about it in retrospect. But stupid thing. Sorry. So, and then, you know, stuff started happening in the basement. You know, stuff being moved off shelves and lights turning on and off by themselves. And as more of these things started happening to me, I started to get more curious and more interested in what was going on, and got my hands on just about every book about ghosts and the paranormal and afterlife and whatever that I could. And look where it got me. Eventually, I got so interested and so into it that, you know, I decided that I wanted to be a ghost hunter. I wanted to be an investigator. Of course, it didn't happen until, you know, recently, but the last year or so. But you know, nonetheless, some really good stories and people shared with us. And again, thank you very much for doing that. But yeah, I mean, to the skeptics, I would say keep an open mind, because you never know. You know, you may be skeptical now, and you may have some kind of experience, and it'll totally, you know, it'll change your perspective. But I guess what I'm getting at is I was happy to see that among people who haven't had experiences, and even some of the ones who had said, you know, I'm still skeptical about what happened to me, but among the ones who hadn't had an experience, the fact that it was split so evenly, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like teams like mine and others are doing what we set out to do, which is raise awareness about the paranormal. Really seems like it seems like it's working, which is great, which is fantastic, because that's one of our two primary goals, along with helping people. And that should be the two primary goals of any investigative team. But to know that we're accomplishing that, it makes me feel really good. And it makes me proud to be in the field. So anyways, that pretty much put the wraps on that question. And again, thank you all so much for your responses. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. So on to this week's question. Thanksgiving is approaching faster than, I realized the other day that, oh my god, Thanksgiving's only a week from Thursday. I read an article the other day expressing a theory. Well, it was more of an essay than an article, but anyways, it put the theory out there that paranormal entities become more active around family-oriented holidays. And when I say family-oriented, I'm thinking Thanksgiving, Christmas, obviously. I guess you could put some of the other holidays in there, like Easter or maybe the 4th of July. But I really want to focus on Thanksgiving and Christmas, because those are generally speaking, the two holidays where people come together the most as a family. So this article said that the author stated his theory that paranormal activity becomes more active. There's more paranormal activity surrounding these family-oriented holidays. And I, for one, tend to agree. Especially in homes, because it could be, a family member that's, that misses their family. Could be somebody that's passed along, somebody that's passed away, and they're missing their family, and they want to be around their family at the holidays, and so they find a way to make their presence known. That would be my, that would be my most common, my most likely theory as to why. So we want to know, do you guys agree? Do you think paranormal entities become more active during the holidays? Like I said, you can lump some of the other holidays in there, I suppose, but I'd really rather focus on Thanksgiving and Christmas, because like I said, that tends to be, generally speaking, that's when more families come together, for Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner and whatnot, and all the fun that goes along with that. So, yeah, I mean, we want to know. We want to know what you guys think. Do you think paranormal entities become more active during the holidays? Be interested to see what you guys have to say about that, because that essay was, and I wish I should have written down the link. Should have, didn't. I would, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but really interesting stuff. And I'd never heard anything like that before. I mean, I've heard I've obviously heard people say, or theories about entities becoming more active on Halloween because it's such a, of all the supernatural stuff, for lack of a better term, all the supernatural circumstances, thank you, revolve around Halloween and what it symbolizes and everything, and that, that I totally on board with. This holiday theory really intrigues me, though, and I'll be extremely interested to see what you guys have to say about this. And that just about puts a wraps on this week's edition of Got Ghost. Like I said, obviously next Thursday is Thanksgiving. We won't be on. We'll be back the week after on the 29th. And that's actually going to be our second to last episode of the first season. We'll do one more after that, and then we'll be on our holiday break. So if you want to answer the question, it'll be on our Facebook page. It'll be on our Paranormal Unity, on the Paranormal Unity page and group page on Facebook, if you're a member of that. So feel free to answer there, or you can also drop us an email, of course, nhparanormal1@gmail.com. And we really look forward to your responses, and we'll have your responses 2 weeks from tonight. Thanks for watching, as always, everybody. Couldn't do it without you. And have a great night, and happy Thanksgiving. Bye, everybody.